And then we're also ending with the Sabbath. This is like, wow, this is like the bread and butter, isn't it?
The matzah and butter.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, b'divrei Torah, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah, Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Beautiful. Oh, that's fantastic, Gary. It gets better every week. It's unbelievable. All right, Annie, do you want to start with Pinchas or
Sure.
Phineas in English, right? Yeah.
Pinchas, Numbers 25, 10 through 31. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, Phineas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, has turned back my wrath from the Israelites by displaying among them his passion for me, so that I did not wipe out the Israelite people in my passion. Say, therefore, I grant him my pact of friendship. It shall be for him and his descendants after him a pact of priesthood for all time, because he took impassioned action for his God, thus making expiation for the Israelites. The name of the Israelite notable who was killed, the one who was killed with the Midianite woman, was Zimri, son of Salu, chieftain of a Simeonite ancestral house. The name of the Midianite woman who was killed was Cosbi, daughter of Zor. He was the tribal head of an ancestral house in Midian. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, Assail the Midianites and defeat them, for they assailed you by the trickery they practiced against you, because of the affair of Peor, and because of the affair of their kinswoman Cosbi, daughter of the Midianite chieftain, who was killed at the time of the plague on account of Peor.
Okay, that's great. What does everyone think of this? Do you remember how the last Torah portion ended when Phineas went in and he killed those the Israelite who strayed, right? And that was
With the Midianite after Balak failed to get Balaam to
right.
curse them, so they brought him down by having the women seduce them. And they ended up worshiping the God. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so what interests me about this is that they seduced, like they wanted the women to seduce them, and then they get killed because they had these affairs. But it was like they were telling them to seduce them, right? I'm a little confused. That's what I'm asking.
Well, I think the big thing is that they were taking the Midianite women were taking the Israelite men away from God, as it were, I think. And I think that because there was a lot of talk of they had these other gods and there was a lot of that in the previous Torah portion. And to me, what kind of strikes me is that it's they in verse 11, God says, "My wrath from the Israelites by displaying among them his passion for me, so that I did not wipe out the Israelite people in my passion." So obviously we've heard this before, that God is a jealous God, and so when he's passionate, and he's kind of lifting Phineas up and saying, he did this great thing, so I don't need to. he kind of subdued God's passion. There's two different ways I think passion is being used here. Like Phineas's passion for God, and God's passion. The second word is kind of used almost as like, I'm passionately about ready to kill you. And so anyway, I don't know. But it's I always feel like when we hear these violent stories, sometimes I feel like it's really just to get our attention. And the attention is like, don't do this thing, or pay attention to what's going on here, no matter what the story is, you know. And I know that we all have trouble with some of these stories that have these, you know, very violent beginning and ends to them. But I think it's just a matter of like paying attention, and I think that's the most important part of this, and that is to keep God with us.
But the plague was because of the fact that the Israelite men were consorting, and then after Pinchas killed that woman and that Israelite man, that like the plague was kept in check.
Right.
So it's like it's just like within the terrible thing that he did, within the context that he did it at the time, was pleasing to God, because it kind of it's like he did it like in God's honor, you know. And like you know, a lot of people do things that they say that they're doing in honor of God, but in this particular case, you know, in the Bible, we see that God, you know, it was the right thing to God in this Torah portion, under the circumstances in which he did it. I don't think God would give a blessing to anybody that just walks up and sticks a spear through two people. But if there are a bunch of people that are, you know, forsaking God, and, you know, in that context, like God's like, oh, somebody's sticking up for me, somebody cares about me, you know. And that, even as terrible as it is and as harsh as it is,
The more I think about it, I think the plague today, have we been misbehaving? Is God mad?
very
think-
possible.
I mean,
Could just be.
I can only speak personally. I've been perfect, but
We're lucky. We know you if you've been perfect.
if I have to say so myself.
Yeah.
oh my. I mean, that's such a good question. I mean, I think a lot of people might be asking themselves that. And I do think that there's a lot to, you know, I think what we've all been going through, not just this year or last year, but for decades, right? I feel like we're all just taking like as a society, we're slowly moving away from what I think God wants us to do. And that is to worship God and to be kind to one another. And I think we are really also living in a real, it's a pretty strong atheistic world that I experience, you know. Just to talk about God to anybody, just like out of the blue, I feel like I'm like, you know, am I talking like a crazy person? I don't know, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
I don't see the world as an atheist nation or the world. I mean, I actually see plenty of people very turning more to God. So I'm surprised you said that, Michael, because I speak to a lot of people, and many of the things they tell me is that they feel like if people would just follow the rules, okay, that we would do better and that God would help us out more. So I don't really see it as the world is more atheist. I actually see people turning to their religion more. So that's just my opinion, you know.
Cool.
It's always like something really dramatically bad that makes us be good. And it's like it goes all the way back, all the way back. Make the golden idol, make the, you know, like we always have to do something really, really bad before we're like, all right, yep, dope slap, back the right way, get on the path, go do what we're supposed to do. But it's always something really, really bad, and lots of people pay for being on the wrong path. Always seems like.
Well, there's a section that I believe that sometimes when everything is going good for us, we have a tendency, or most people, I think, have a tendency to forget God. And it's only when things start happening bad that we start bringing him back in, and we start praying to him. And one of our loved ones gets sick or something, we start praying. Or we lose
like
something precious to us. It
There's
seems
there's no atheists in a foxhole, right?
right. And I feel somewhat like Michael, that if you do talk to other people, you go, man, am I the crazy one here? You know, am I over religious? I mean, no, this stuff really happened to me.
All right. Would anyone like to pick it up from when the plague was over?
I will do that.
All right.
When the plague was over, the Eternal One said to Moses and to Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, take a census of the whole Israelite company of fighters from the age of 20 years up by their ancestral houses, all Israelite males able to bear arms. So Moses and Eleazar the priest, on the steppes of Moab at the Jordan near Jericho, gave instructions about them, namely, those from 20 years up, as the Eternal had commanded Moses. The eligible male descendants of the Israelites who came out of the land of Egypt were Reuben, Israel's firstborn, descendants of Reuben, of Enoch, the clan of the Enochites, of Palu, the clan of the Paluites, of Hezron, the clan of the Hezronites, of Carmi, the clan of the Carmites. Those are the clans of the Reubenites. The men enrolled came to 43,730.
Because I think we go through 12 tribes here, and there are a lot of great names, but I think it's going to kind of bog us down. But maybe if I could just do from the beginning to the end, is that okay with everybody?
Sure, yes.
Gary, is that all right? Just because I looked through this, and this actually, Ruth, this is what we were talking about last week, and the number of Israelites that went through the desert, and this is going to add up to a number that's pretty much what we were talking about. So
Right.
You did Reuben, number 8, born to Palo, Eliab, and the sons of Korah. All right, whereupon, then they relived the that whole episode with Korah and how the mouth of the earth swallowed them up.
So then they were ended with 22,200.
Yeah, 20. So the clans of the Simeonites, 22,200. Descendants of Gad were 40,500. And then born to Judah, the men enrolled there were 76,500. Descendant of Issachar by their clans, 64,300. Descendants of Zebulun by their clans, 60,500. The sons of Joseph, which were Manasseh and Ephraim, 52,700 from Manasseh and 32,500 for Ephraim. And Benjamin, 45,600. And then Dan, 64,400. Descendants of Asher by their clans, 53,400.
So there was
45,400. And so the enrollment, why don't you go ahead right there from there on, Ruth? This is the enrollment.
They had a lot of children to have that many from one.
Right, and
family.
those are just the men, right? So we talked about this last, or 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago. The enrollment of just the men, 601,730. And so you can imagine there's more than 1 million people.
Sure.
To me, I don't know. What do you think, Gary? Is that right to you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been
It was a
awfully
lot of-
crowded in the desert.
people.
And then they have their herds, and then they need water, and then so you can understand why they're getting a little antsy and they get a little rebellious. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of them. All right, do you want to keep going, Ruth? At
Yeah, where do I continue? I forgot where I am.
52.
52. Okay. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, among these shall the land be apportioned as shears, according to the listed names. With larger groups, increase the share. With smaller groups, reduce the share. Each is to be assigned its share according to its enrollment. The land, moreover, is to be apportioned by lot, and the allotment shall be made according to the listings of their ancestral tribes. Each portion shall be assigned by lot, whether for larger or smaller groups. This is the enrollment of the Levites by their clans. Of Gershom, the clan of the Gershonites. Of Kohat, the clan of the Kohatites. Of Merari, the clan of the Merarites. These are the clans of Levi, the clan of the Libnites, the clan of the Hebronites, the clan of the Malites, the clan of the Mushites, the clan of the Koraihites, and the Korat begot Amram. The name of Amram's wife was Jehovah, daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. She bore to Amram Aaron and Moses and their sister Miriam. To Aaron were born Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar. Nadab and Abihu died when they offered alien fire before the Eternal. I want to know what alien fire is later. Their enrollment of 23,000 comprised all males from a month up. They were not part of the regular enrollment of the Israelites. Oh, you want me to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. These are the males enrolled by Moses and Eleazar the priest who registered the Israelites on the steppes of Moab at the Jordan near Jericho. Among these were not one of those enrolled by Moses and Aaron the priest when they recorded the Israelites in the wilderness of Sinai. For the Eternal had said of them, they shall die in the wilderness. Not one of them survived except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, son of Nun. The daughters of Zelophehad, I wish they had some easier words.
You're doing great.
I know, of Manassite family, son of Hefer, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, son of Joseph, came forward. The names of the daughters were Mala, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. They stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the chieftains, and the whole assembly at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and they said, our father died in the wilderness. He was not one of the faction, Korah's faction, which banded together against the Eternal, but died for his own sin, and he has left no sons. Let not our father's name be lost to his clan, just because he had no son. Give us a holding among our father's kinsmen. I remember reading this last time because I was really concerned about the whole woman thing. Yeah, okay. Moses brought their case before the Eternal. And the Eternal One said to Moses, the plea of Zelophehad's daughters is just, you should give them a hereditary holding among their father's kinsmen. Transfer their father's share to them. I remember this now, yeah. Further, speak to the Israelite people as follows. If a householder dies without leaving a son, you shall transfer his property to his daughter. Hip, hip, hooray. If he has no daughter, you shall assign his property to his brothers. If he has no brothers, you will assign his property to his father's brothers. If his father has no brothers, you shall assign the property to his nearest relative in his own clan, who shall inherit it. This shall be the law of procedure for the Israelites, in accordance with the Eternal's command to Moses. You want me to continue?
No, I think we can talk about this. This is really
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
yeah, because we got a lot of history in here too, right? Right, Gary?
Right.
I want to bring Gary in.
Yeah, and Ruth mentioned about alien fire,
Yes, I'm interested in that, yeah.
and that was right before when Moses and Aaron, they were given the instructions for the priesthood. Right after God gave him the instructions, like when immediately after, it was when Abihu and Nadab brought It said they brought a strange fire before God. In other words, they weren't. It wasn't part of the ritual that they were supposed to be doing. It was something they were just doing on their own, kind of like on behalf of themselves, possibly for a number of reasons, possibly out of their own. Maybe they were being selfish because, like the priests were supposed to be performing this ritual on behalf of the people, and they had already performed that function. This was something they were just doing on their own. And I guess, the incense, the type of incense, the materials are very specific. And it looks like they just took something and they went before God, and God just said, they got consumed by the fire. Some of the commentaries I've read talk about it as representing like their overzealousness.
Oh,
Like sometimes you can be a little bit too overzealous, but they went beyond and outside of the boundaries of what the function that the priest was supposed to perform, and they did it on their own.
I see.
So that's like
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense now. Yeah.
But you know what fascinates me mostly is the history. This history goes back thousands of years, and we know the names of the people and so on that live there. It's a history. I wonder how many nations survive today with such a history, actual names of names.
I'm sorry, what did you end with?
No, I said I wondered how many people can go back this far as the names of the families and so on. This is an actual history of the people.
Hmm.
And even if you don't look at it from a religious paper, it's a historical document with actual names of families.
That's right. I know, and that's
And
like
they got-
5,000, 6,000 years old, right? Wow.
Right.
And that also teaches that they were supposed to take the count of the like males over the age of 20, but it also, like, in a way, it kind of it stresses the fact that we're not just numbers. Like when we talk about not numbering people for a minion, everybody has their name, and it also there again it stresses the importance of your heritage and your lineage,
That's right.
because it's all recorded there.
One of those guys may have been my great grandfather.
That's right. Exactly.
Great, 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 great.
But then there's this great part that we ended on, which was the daughters get the share of the inheritance, right? I think
I
that's
know. I was so
That was
happy
very
about that.
fair. I know. That was far thinking they were ahead of their time.
that's right.
Finally, they had some fairness to women. It's about time.
Mhm.
Something tells me that doesn't last all that long. Got to catch it when you can.
Does it go away? Is that right? Is that true? Well, probably somehow. Yeah, but it's really great to see it, like, kind of put right in the Torah that don't forget your daughters. Don't if you don't have a son, your daughter's next in line. I mean, even though you have, the sons were valued, probably more so, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But God immediately agreed too. So he agreed with them immediately.
it's great.
Who would like to read next? Yeah, Cynthia, do you want to read number two?
But it isn't up here.
Oh, you don't have it?
Oh, okay. Okay. The Eternal One said to Moses, ascend these heights of Abraham and view the land that I have given to the Israelite people. When you have seen it, you too shall be gathered to your kin, just as your brother Aaron was. For in the wilderness of Zin, when the community was contentious, you disobeyed my command to uphold my sanctity in their sight by means of the water. Those are the waters of Meribah, Kadesh, in the wilderness of Zin. Moses spoke to the Eternal, saying, let the Eternal One, source of the breath of all flesh, appoint an envoy to the community, who shall go out before them and come in before them, and who shall take them out and bring them in, so that the Eternal's community may not be like sheep that have no shepherd. And the Eternal One answered Moses, singled out Joshua, son of Nun, an inspired deputy, and lay your hand upon him. Have him stand before Eleazar the priest and before the whole community, and commission him in their sight. Invest him with some of your authority, so that the whole Israelite community may obey. But he shall present himself to Eleazar
the priest. Oh, let me get it up there. Okay.
The priest, who shall on his behalf seek the decision of the Urim before the Eternal. By such instruction they shall go out, and by such instruction they shall come in, he and all the Israelite militia and the whole community. Moses did as the Eternal commanded him. He took Joshua and had him stand before Eleazar the priest and before the whole community. He laid his hands upon him and commissioned him as the Eternal and spoken through Moses. The Eternal One spoke to Moses.
Why don't we stop right here for a second, because this is a new chapter, I think. So this is really interesting, isn't it, for Moses? I mean, what do you think of this, Kevin? As a leader, he's got to hand over the reins in a lot of ways, right? And he also has to understand that God's telling him, you're not going in this place.
Not going in. So these people are going to have to stand on their own 2 feet. You have to let them go, but give them some good advice and give them a good leader. Pick out the leaders that are going to take them to the place they're going to stay. Because the law doesn't want you to go.
Right. And I think that's another great thing about Moses. He doesn't complain once. Does he complain ever? I mean, this whole parashat is like it's like a history lesson. It's like a little, there's all these different parts of the history of the last 3 or 4 chapters back, and
yeah, but wasn't there a time and place where he asked the Lord, why can't I go into the promised land? Why am I being shunned?
Yeah. Gary, do you have anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, because he rebelled, but I think also what Kevin's talking about, and it does come a little later, is I think Moses kind of also expects that, like, his son, like, would take over for him, but yet God chooses, it tells you, like, it tells you so many things. It tells you, like, the right leader for the right job. Mm-hmm. Like, as great as Moses was, he was great getting him out of Egypt, going to Pharaoh, leading them through the desert, but now that they were there, they needed somebody else. And also the fact that...
I'm sorry.
Too much echo. The fact that just because, you need the best person for the job, and just because somebody is in your lineage or whatever, you know what I mean, like patronage, it's almost like the Torah is teaching us a lesson about no patronage, But also, Joshua was, one of the 2 of the 12 spies that came back that was positive and upbeat.
Right.
And God mentioned something that, he's usually like at the house of study early, like setting up, and he's like the first to come and the last to go, like the roadies for a rock band, And
he's a lot like you, Gary. He's a lot like you. I see a lot of Joshua in you, man.
But also, I thought that the reason why Moses wasn't able to go is because he had hit the rock instead of
right.
Yeah,
Well, that's it. I mean, but I'm saying, but I always think that. Well, that was a reason, but God also, I think, really used that. It gave God the excuse to be able to say, that's it, you're not going in.
Yeah, right.
It was something concrete. But, I mean, it's like when Moses said, oh, you rebels, like when he hit the rock. Him and Aaron were actually the ones that were rebelling against God.
Yeah.
The people weren't rebelling because they were asking for water, but Moses and Aaron rebelled, and it cost them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I also like the fact that we have a ritual, right, where it's like kind of a, they make it a ceremony. They have Joshua stand before Eleazar the priest in front of the whole community so that everyone's aware. Like, it's kind of like how we do the presidents, right? Excuse me. It's like this person was your president, no longer is your president. Now this person is in some ways, it's kind of like it's interesting to me. Anyone have anything else until we move on?
Well, I think he's actually showing the people that he approves of him. That's what he wants them to do. In front of everybody, he's approving of him. And it makes people feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
I can read. I can hear me.
Okay, go for it.
The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, command the Israelite people and say to them, be punctuous in presenting to me at stated times the offerings of food due me as offerings by fire of pleasing odor to me. Say to them, these are the offerings by fire that you are to present to the Eternal. As a regular burnt offering every day, 2 yearling lambs without blemish. You shall offer 1 lamb in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer at twilight. And as a meal offering, there shall be a tenth of an ephah of choice flour with a quarter of hin of beaten oil mixture in. The regular burnt offering instituted at Mount Sinai, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Eternal. The libation will be, it shall be a quarter of a hin for each lamb to be poured in the sacred precinct as an offering of fermented drink to the Eternal. The other lamb you shall offer at twilight, preparing the same meal, offering and libation as in the morning, and offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Eternal. On the Sabbath day, 2 yearling lambs without blemish, together with 2/10 of a measure of choice flour with oil mixture in as a meal offering and with the proper libation. A burnt offering for every Sabbath in addition to the regular burnt offering and its libation. On your new moons, you shall present a burnt offering to the Eternal, 2 bulls of the herd, 1 ram and 7 yearling lambs without blemish. As meal offering for each bull, 3/10 of a measure of choice flour with oil mixed in. As meal offering for each ram, 2/10 of a measure of choice flour with oil mixed in. As a meal offering for each lamb.
Something just happened.
As a meal offering for each ram, 2/10 of a measure of choice flour with oil mixed in. As a meal offering for each lamb, 1/10 of a measure of fine flour with oil mixed in. Such shall be the burnt offering of pleasing odor, and offering by fire to the Eternal. The libation shall be half a hin of wine for a bull, 1/3 of hin for a ram, and a quarter of a hin for a lamb. That shall be the monthly burnt offering for each new moon of the year. And there shall be 1 goat as a purgation offering to the Eternal, to be offered in addition to the regular burnt offering and its libation.
I have a question before she goes on. Did you ever think about all these recipes with the animal and the oil and the flour? What that all means? There must be some meaning behind all this. Hello? Does anybody hear me?
I don't know what the word is, but I think it's because it gives them something to follow, and which is very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to have something to follow. That's what I think.
Not just slaughtering an animal and letting it go to waste. I don't know, by burning it, but they mean by burning it to cinders or burning it enough that they could feed off it. I have a hard time with that.
No, burnt offerings you don't eat.
No, I thought the priests ate them. Don't the priests eat them? Or no, Gary?
There are some, but there are
There's a
some
meal
that
right
a
there.
total burnt offering is where it's all burnt to ashes, the whole
Right.
certain
as a
offering.
meal
There are
offering.
somewhere that they get to eat a part of it.
It says at 12 as a meal offering for each bull.
Oh.
Meal.
Oh, a meal offer. You're right. I didn't see that. You're right. Yeah.
And I think the other thing the thing that I get out of this all, every time I read it, is how God wants something without blemish. He wants a perfect animal. And then, so that almost encourages the Israelites to really do their best to raise the best animals. And what's the effect of that? So if they're going to give the best lamb to God, then they get the second best lamb to feed their families, And I think that's a thing where God is giving them the encouragement to be healthy, to be as healthy as they possibly can. They're out in the desert. There's a million of them from what we could gather from the last chapter, and they need to be healthy and they need to have good food. And so if God is getting the best, second best has got to be awesome still, right? I mean,
He tells them to go shopping at Whole Foods and stuff like that.
nothing but organic. Get it? No, what's that stuff? The biofeed stuff? No, you don't want that stuff.
No
No
preservatives.
Hazarai.
It's kosher, right? Is this kosher? Is this the kosher? It's all lambs and everything.
Does the meal offering go to the animal before it's slaughtered? Like
That's a good
is that
point.
like, do you give the? Is that why you bring the meal offering for the bull? So you feed the bull before you sacrifice it?
That's a good point, Annie, because it did say as a meal offering for each lamb.
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Of a measure of fine flour with oil mixed in. So it could have been, you're going to feed this perfect lamb, a perfect cow, a perfect bull. You're going to feed it with this stuff. Then you're going to burn it.
I think that it's good that when you're gonna burn it, like that's gonna be eaten with it. Okay, I get it. You know,
As a
it's-
meal offering for each lamb.
I have another question. It's at some point we stopped doing sacrifices like this. When did that happen?
after the temple burnt, after the temple was destroyed.
Okay.
That's when we started praying, and the rabbis.
Okay,
we
I
stopped
understand.
them.
Okay.
It's a good thing they stopped it, because I would have quit if I wouldn't be. I wouldn't have been involved in it whatsoever at all if they were doing it. Excuse me for injecting myself.
Cynthia, you shall bring a ram of the first year without blemish
Forget it.
before the priest.
Forget it. That'll never happen.
And then in 17,
I make
all you
pets out
get
of
to eat is
the
unleavened bread.
Please, I make pets out of everything. It's a wonder the mice that I get in the house I don't make pets of before I call the exterminate.
Oh my.
Usually it says you have to give something to the priests. This part doesn't say anything about giving anything to the priests.
Yeah, that's a good question. We'll have to research it. I'm busy typing away on Google on my other monitor, and I'm like, I can't see.
All of these explanations are in the Talmud, incidentally. Anything that you see in the Torah is explained in the Talmud. So I don't have a Talmud in front of me, but I do know that people that really want to understand all of this, you have to study Talmud. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to dig some of that up.
That's one of the things I learned in Mayer when I took the course at Hebrew, is that we really started to delve into the things that we couldn't make sense of in the Torah. There's explanations. Now, some of them are, what's it called when it's, oh gosh, my mind went a blank. Help me out, Gary. What's it called when it's like just a story, not
Midrash?
Midrash?
Parable?
Midrash, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's Midrash. Midrash is not always like the truth, but
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to explain because there's a lot of Midrash in the Talmud as well as what they call they have different arguments about it. And so it's very interesting. We only study Torah, but Orthodox Jews really do a lot of studying of Talmud, because my husband was an Orthodox Jew and he studied Talmud. He was a Talmud Chacham, matter of fact.
But
And he
a lot of
really
the
knew. Yeah, go ahead.
But the thing with the Talmud too is a lot of it is it's discussions that other rabbis had. But as I've said to Rabbi Kudan, what makes those any more valid than any discussions we have is we try to make sense out of what we don't understand. You know what I mean?
That's true
They
too.
might have been more enlightened or something or have, but I don't know. I mean, it's great stuff I'm saying, but I mean,
But when I did study it, I did find things that were very illuminating to me that made more sense from the Torah afterwards. I'm not saying all of it. Well, you're right. It's just a lot of discussion. but there was some things that made a lot of sense. And so that's why it would be nice for us to have a Talmud learning someday. But anyways,
Absolutely.
another 2 cents from the peanut gallery here.
Hey, we're all in the gallery. We're all in the gallery. Ellie, do you have anything? Ellie, do you want to say?
Yeah, you know that the book, The Red Tent, is considered a big rush book, you know, because it's about women, and that time of the month they go into their red tent to be together, and that is in the Torah. I know it. I looked it up, and
Yes,
also it the beginning of midwifery.
Hmm.
You know, the book was about that, and there's a lot of that in the Torah too. There's
Jewish
something
Shifra
about
and
that
Pua.
paragraph that doesn't sit right with me for some reason or other.
Which paragraph? The one about the
And we just read a little while ago about God taking the best and leaving the others, you know, leaving the rest for people. I don't know, that whole perfect thing doesn't seem to fit right with me for some reason or other. But that could just be me.
Everyone's entitled to their opinions here at
Yeah.
Underground Torah Study with Karen.
Underground? I didn't know we were underground.
Underground, subversive, subterranean.
Oh, I love you guys so much. All right, I think I lost my place. Are we at 16? Did we do the hin, the libation? Did we do the libation?
Yeah, we did the libation.
Oh,
Yes, we did.
It's on page 16.
16. Okay, who would like to read? Anybody?
You see it, Ellie?
If you can hear me, I'll read.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Ellie.
Okay. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, there shall be a Passover sacrifice to the Eternal. And on the 15th day of that month, a festival. Unleavened bread shall be eaten for 7 days. The first day shall be a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. You shall present an offering by fire, a burnt offering to the Eternal, 2 bulls of the herd, 1 ram, and 7 yearling lambs. See that they are without blemish. The meal offering with them shall be of choice flour with oil mixed in. Prepare 3/10 of a measure for a bull, 2/10 for a ram, and for each of the 7 lambs prepare 1/10 of a measure. And there shall be 1 goat for a purgation offering to make expiation in your behalf. You shall present these in addition to the morning portion of the regular burnt offering. You shall offer the like daily for 7 days as food, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Eternal. They shall be offered with their libations in addition to the regular burnt offering. And the 7th day shall be a sacred occasion for you. You shall not work at your occupations.
This is great stuff, isn't it? This is like just laying out everything, isn't it? What do you guys think of this? This is like, we're talking about Passover,
Right.
which happened just several years before when they came out of Egypt, and then we're also ending with the Sabbath. This is like, wow, this is like the bread and butter, isn't it?
The matzah and butter.
No butter.
Mazel tov.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic that the Passover has been held since this time, right? That's like, that kind of goes with Cynthia saying that, you know, we remember all these people, all these ancestors for thousands and thousands of years. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Where are we? Okay.
26.
On the day of the first fruits, your feast of weeks, when you bring an offering of new grain to the Eternal, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. You shall present a burnt offering of pleasing odor to the Eternal, 2 bulls of the herd, 1 ram, 7 yearling lambs. The meal offering with them shall be of choice flour with oil mixed in. 3/10 of a measure for a bull, 2/10 for a ram, and 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs. And there shall be 1 goat for expiation in your behalf. You shall present them. See that they are without blemish, with their libations, in addition to the regular burnt offering and its meal offering. In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. You shall observe it as a day when the horn is sounded. That's Rosh Hashanah, right? You shall present a burnt offering of pleasing odor to the Eternal, 1 bull of the herd, 1 ram, and 7 yearling lambs, without blemish. The meal offering with them, choice flour with oil mixed in, shall be 3/10 of a measure for a bull, 2/10 for a ram, and 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs. And there shall be 1 goat for a purgation. Where are we?
Offering. Yeah, purgation offering. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Where are we? In addition to the purgation offering, to expiation and the regular burnt offering with its meal offering, each with its libation.
Great. Excellent. And so I mean, this is so you mentioned that's Rosh Hashanah, that they don't mention it by name, right?
Yeah, and it's the 10th day of the 7th month. You notice, like, Passover is the 1st month. Like, it was originally like the New Year.
Yeah, the New Year, I was told a long time ago that Rosh Hashanah was like right after Passover. It wasn't at the time that we have now. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else want to say anything? Why don't I continue? On the 10th day of the same 7th month, you shall observe a sacred occasion when you shall practice self-denial. You shall do no work. You shall present to the Eternal a burnt offering of pleasing odor, 1 bull of the herd, 1 ram, 7 yearling lambs. See that they are without blemish. The meal offering with them of choice flour with oil mixed in shall be 3/10 of a measure for a bull, 2/10 for the 1 ram, 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs. And there shall be 1 goat for a purgation offering, in addition to the purgation offering of expiation and the regular burnt offering with its meal offering, each with its libation. So
That's Yom Kippur.
that's Yom Kippur.
Yep.
And that's the self-denial. Is that the fasting? The
Yep.
fasting.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
That
interesting.
is it.
This is all like lined up here. This is amazing. Does anyone want to continue on number 12?
I'll continue.
Great.
On the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. 7 days you shall observe a festival of the Eternal. You shall present a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Eternal. 13 bulls of the herd, 2 rams, 14 yearling lambs, they shall be without blemish. The meal offerings with them of choice flour with oil mixed in shall be 3/10 of a measure for each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 for each of the 2 rams, and 1/10 for each of the 14 lambs. And there shall be 1 goat for a purgation offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering, its meal offering, and libation. 2nd day, 12 bulls of the herd, 2 rams, 14 yearling lambs without blemish. The meal offerings and libations for the bulls, rams, and lambs in the quantities prescribed, and 1 goat for a purgation offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering, its meal offering, and libations.
I'm just going to move it up. Okay.
Okay. 3rd day, 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 yearling lambs without blemish. The meal offerings and libations for the bulls, rams, and lambs in the quantities prescribed, and 1 goat for a purgation offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering, its meal offering, and libation. 4th day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, sounds like, from the Christmas thing. Okay. 14 yearly lambs without blemish.
And
The
a
meal
partridge in a
offerings-
pear
meal offerings and libations for the bulls, rams, and lambs in the quantities prescribed, and 1 goat for purgation offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering, its meal offering, and libation. 5th day, 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 yearling lambs without blemish, the meal offering and libations for the bulls, rams, and lambs in the quantities prescribed, and 1 goat for a purgation offering, in addition to the regular offering, its meal offering and libation. Do you notice there's a repetition here? I just
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just the same thing over
It's
and
the
over.
same thing over. Do we have to really read this over and over again?
Okay, 6th day, 8 bulls. 7th day, 7 bulls.
Right.
And then, and
On
what,
the
what
8th.
is this Passover? Is it 7 days? Or
Sukkot? No, that's Sukkot.
No, it's Sukkot.
On the 8th day, I'm full.
Sukkot is also 8 days. Okay.
nice.
On
And
the-
what happens on Sukkot? What-
Sukkot is our harvest festival.
And we're supposed to stay out in the Sukkot.
And we're supposed to stay out in the Sukkot and see the sky, have a little bit of light that comes from the Sukkot, and you look up to the sky. And most of the time it rains at least one day of the Sukkot. Yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to be able to
Orthodox
see the
Jews
sky.
actually sleep in the Sukkot. They don't only eat, they sleep in it. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like that's go get them. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's really nice. Yeah.
And the
I
8th
have-
day is Shmini Atzeret.
Yeah. The Shmini Atzeret.
No, we did that one time. We did something with a fruit and some herbs or something out in the Sukkot one time. I think.
Yeah. It's every year we do that. Yes.
Yeah, with that lemon.
The lemon.
The etrog. The
Lemon, and then you
etrog.
use the lemon,
And the
etrog, and the
Lulav.
lulav, yeah.
Great.
And you shake it in all directions. Get into that later.
That's beautiful. All right. Does anyone want to roll? This is the end of the parashat. Then, so does anyone want to end with from 35 down to chapter 30, verse 1? Anyone? Cynthia?
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
On the 8th day, you shall hold a solemn gathering. You shall not work at your occupations. You shall present a burnt offering, an offering by fire of pleasing odor to the Eternal. 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 yearling lambs without blemish. The meal offerings and libations for the bull, the ram, and the lambs in the quantities prescribed. And 1 goat for a purgation offering, in addition to the regular burnt offering, its meal offering and libation. All these you shall offer to the Eternal at the stated times. In addition to your votive and free will offerings, be they burnt offerings, meal offerings, libations, or offerings of well-being. So Moses spoke to the Israelites, just as the Eternal had commanded Moses.
Amen.
The end.
Wonderful. The end.
Amen.
What is the purgation offering?
Amen.
What are the purgation offerings?
Yes. What is that? What does it mean?
What are the purgation offerings? I'm asking Google right now. Google. What does it mean?
I think you're purging. You're eating so much.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's it. The act of purging, specifically vigorous evacuation of
Yeah.
something.
Purgation.
Purgation.
I think it's written this way to keep order for the people. People need
To
order,
purge your sins.
Yeah.
and they like to be told. They like to be told what to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because they even mention that in the Catholic tradition, it's related to the spiritual cleansing of a soul in purgatory, that place between heaven and hell. So it's like, woo, look out. So it's the act of clearing oneself of accusation or suspicion by an oath or ordeal. That's just by definition a purgation.
Which makes sense. Absolutely.
But
How did the months used to go? Like, that's the 7th month, right? It seems like a lot of stuff happens in the 7th month. What would the 7th month be?
You know,
hmm.
the 12.
That's when you're taking the crops in, isn't it?
This,
It's like the harvest and everything, like, you know. You're
Mhm.
thanking God for all that, but it all comes together. Like we have Rosh Hashanah, and then Yom Kippur. It is
Yeah.
a lot, like and then you have Sukkot, and then you have like a lot of all the holidays, like in the Torah. Well, like the 5 of them that you're supposed to celebrate, like 3 of them happen right in that month,
Right.
because you have Passover and then Shavuot, and then the other
Yeah,
3
it
happen.
seems like
in
there's a
Chris-
lot of days you're not working during that month. You know?
It's not bad. Sign me up. It's not coming
Oh,
up.
you disappeared
I
for a minute.
disappeared again. But it's behind Gary's. I got to make a shirt out of this thing behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tree of life.
Yeah, Gary's.
Borei Atzei V'Samim.
Love
Did
it.
somebody
That's what it
paint that?
says.
That's Gary. That's Gary's work behind me.
Gary painted that?
Yeah.
Gary, did you make that?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know how talented you
Yeah,
were.
but I knew somebody.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
In fact,
Impressed.
he put in Hebrew letters as
The
a.
multifaceted madman. Yeah, it says, if you look at the letters, it says Borei Atzei V'Samim. It's from the prayer that you say for trees.
Very nice.
Yeah. And I
Baruch
put it,
Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam Borei Atzei V'Samim.
That's great.
he's very talented. He's so talented.
Yes, amazing.
Incredible.
From the virus?
But on a more positive note, you all know who's going to be 80 years old tomorrow.
Ringo?
Ringo
Ringo.
Starr.
No.
Ringo,
Wait a minute,
the Beatle.
Who's going to be 80 tomorrow?
Ringo Starr.
Ringo from the Beatles.
Okay, I can
And
do
he
it
looks
one
like he's
better.
he looks like he's 30.
Yeah, Thursday I'm going to be 86. I can do him one better. If I
Oh,
make
happy
it,
birthday, Cynthia.
I know I have to make it till Thursday.
Yo, you're making it. You're making it.
You'll be fine. You're gonna make it to your 100, so you're fine.
Go,
And
Cynthia.
beyond.
I don't know.
Oh, Cynthia.
Tough.
According to my mother, my great grandmother in Russia lived to be 103. According
Very-
to my aunt, the great grandmother was 110.
Wow.
Probably, she was probably 60 and born the year of the Great Flood. They didn't know when they were born. But according to this family story, I'll tell you before, evidently it was a Friday night and the great grandmother was saying the prayers over the candles and she looked out the window and she saw a woman she didn't like and she said, "There goes my death." And she dropped dead.
No way.
One of the family stories. Next week I'll tell you another.
Okay.
They're gonna put me in the movie. They're gonna make a big star out of me. The biggest fool that ever hit the big time. And all I gotta do is act naturally. Well, I bet you I'm gonna be a big star. Might win an Oscar, you can never tell. The movie's gonna make me a big star, 'cause I can play the part so well. Well, I hope you come and see me in the movies. Then I know that you will plainly see the biggest fool that ever hit the big time. And all I gotta do is act naturally. Well, that's a Beatles song that Ringo sang.
Yay!
That's nice. I like that.
Okay, here we go. You ready? Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'aleh. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'aleh. Shema Yisrael.